Welcome back to another Wells Ave C race. This is the last one of the month. Wells Ave will be off for a little bit, and as always, we start with 3 neutral laps, and we'll skip right through those. This week there was no mentors or leaders, so we had to kind of self-neutralize, which wasn't ideal for me because it meant that I had to be on the front while we were, doing our neutral laps at 18, 19 miles an hour. Not a ton of effort, but I was at this point I think pretty warmed up, and so I was kind of hoping to not start the race on the front. Luckily, things aren't too crazy right off the start. I mean, of course, they pick right up. You go from that 19, 20 mile per hour kind of easy group ride pace. So things are picking up here, and I'm kind of floating backwards, not the way I want to go. And here we see our first team member, the B2C2 team, although there was actually just the one of them today, so not much in terms of team tactics there. But as he comes around me on the right, I decide this looks like a good wheel to follow, and I don't want to fall too far back in this group right off the start. So I hop on and get carried along to the front of the group here. And it starts to slow up a little bit. And so we see this rider on the right picking up the speed a little bit from the Tri-State Cycling Club in the orange kit. I think there were about 4 guys, maybe 5, from the Tri-State Cycling Club at this race. I didn't realize that until after the race because I think they didn't really have exactly matching kit. The kit was pretty similar, but I think I saw them hanging out after the race, and I realized, oh, actually there was a few more of them than I originally thought. Not that it was super consequential. I didn't really see too much happening there. The other team to note is the Seacoast Racing team. We'll see them in the white and pink kit in a bit. They definitely were working together and making some interesting moves that I'll call out as we see them. We see a small attack on the left here, and I think I do a good job here of ramping up the speed along with the group as opposed to kind of letting the gap pull out and then having to spike up the power a bunch. And we have the Seacoast Racing rider here who really wants this B2C2 wheel. I think he's maybe not marked him, but knows that this is a strong rider and needs to keep an eye on him. And I definitely was picking up on that. He was putting in some good attacks. He was covering good attacks. After the short little climb there, the group kind of slows down a little bit. You can see we come down to 22 miles an hour, and the Seacoast Racing rider on the left just starts to mash a little harder and pull the group along, speeds us right up, and we all kind of need to latch on. You'll see my watts are at 0 at this point. I was having an issue with the power meter. I think maybe the battery's dead, although it kept coming back, so I'll play with it. But you'll see occasionally that the power jumps to 0, especially towards the end of the race. I assure you I was not making 0 watts here, although that sure would be sweet, and I'd have fresher legs at the end if I could just, latch on with 0 watts. So at this point, I like my position. I've got 3 of the big teams right in front of me: B2C2, Tri-State Cycling, and Seacoast Racing. And B2C2 pulls off, and the Seacoast Racing rider just starts to drill it, and B2C2 hops back on the wheel. I think that's Jason, if I'm looking at the registration correctly. And the guy in front of me, he just lets it go, and I'm like,
Come on, Jonas. This is Tour de France winning stuff what you do, huh? Come on.
So I got to stitch it back together. I put down some power and bring this back. And this is a short race, and I've definitely seen, a group of one or two manage to just kind of roll away from the field as the field won't work together to pull it back. For a little bit, I didn't have anyone right behind me, but as I finally managed to latch back on, I look back and see that, the field is strung out but attached. So I managed to stitch things back together for everybody. I think that the smarter play here is probably force the Tri-State Cycling team to chase this back. They had a bunch of guys, but like I mentioned, I didn't actually know how many they had. And sometimes you're not sure exactly, what everyone's legs are like on the day and if they're going to be willing to chase it back. So in the end, I don't regret the move. It was kind of fun. Here's an example of some good teamwork. Another Seacoast Racing rider sees the attack from his buddies over, and he counterattacks right over the top into this turn. This is a great spot to attack because you have to go up the hill, and you can see the rider who finished his attack. He kind of blocks the chase here a little bit. Really smart move. Slows us down a little bit, makes us work a little harder to get around him, and then catch back on. But the attack is, immediately shut down. I think it was just a little test dig, maybe. Or maybe he saw that the B2C2 rider had managed to attach on, and he didn't want to attack anymore on the front. On the left in the green here, we can see the Back in Action team is back, although I believe it's just Christian here today, and none of the other teammates are there, so he's going to have to, if he wants to win, he's going to have to do it solo. So compared to last week, here's another good example of the group starting to pick up the pace and ramping my power up to stick onto this wheel, not letting the gap grow out at all. The GoPro makes it look like I'm a little further away than I think I actually am. My front wheel, you can't see it right now with the angle, but it's basically right there. And so I'm getting an excellent draft. And I think that works out for me. In my power numbers, they are a lot lower in terms of average power. The normalized power was still pretty high. But that works out well for me because it means that my legs are more well rested, even though we're going pretty much the same speed as last week, a little bit slower. And here we see Seacoast Racing making another attack from the middle of the pack. You can see I kind of think about chasing it, but change my mind and decide maybe instead of like spiking up to attack this guy, I'll let the field come up and chase him, and I can stick in the draft and kind of ramp up more slowly instead of trying to spike up and sprint with him, especially because I think he has a bunch of teammates, so this is more of a force everyone to chase me and let my team sprinter rest, who I'm not even sure who their team sprinter was, but I assume they had someone in the pack that they were letting rest as they attack the field, tiring everybody out. Smart moves. Got another attack on the right, this time from a solo rider, and Seacoast Racing immediately moves to cover and attack that. I think they want this to be all together. That was the vibe that I picked up. They want to end it as a big group, or with one of their own off the front. I'm not sure if they would have worked in a breakaway, but they were definitely covering moves and doing their own attacks and counterattacks. So they weren't super interested in letting a break get up the road and then chasing it back down later. Speaking of solo riders, shout out to Casey, Brian, and Daniel, who I met after the race and mentioned they had seen some of these videos. Now that I've shouted you out, though, you have to hit the subscribe button, so thanks for that. And I'm looking forward to doing some more races with you guys. So crossing the line here, we got 3 laps left to go. Man, these races go by so fast with the 3 neutral laps, which take up, part of that 30 minutes of racing. There's only so much racing to do, and so it tends to be flat out, which definitely is a different vibe from the longer criteriums that I've watched. I've not been a part of too many. I think I've done Devon's, Thompson. And maybe next week we'll see if I end up at the Buzz the Tower crit down in Charlestown, Rhode Island. If you're going, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know if I should go out. It's a bit of a drive, but could be fun. Also do a full 40-minute crit. Probably would do the 4-5 field because the 5 field is it's too early in the morning. Don't want to have to wake up at like 4 a.m. to get there on time, that doesn't sound fun. I guess that's one good reason to cat up, right, is most of the higher category fields tend to race a little bit later in the day, and the novice category gets put first, and so it'd be nice to sleep in a little. So at this point, I think I'm feeling pretty good. Heart rate's only at 175, which is, decently high, but I've got room to go, and I've got room to put some harder efforts in if I need to. And I know we've got 2 laps left, which, they fly by. These are short laps. And so I'm hopeful that I can kind of maintain a decent position here and try and contest the sprint at the end. But I think, there's been a couple of surges here and there, and we've got some strong guys in this field. And so I think that works against me, which is, the nature of racing. And you can see the back in action rider is back in action. We've got, we're in the middle of our second to last lap, and the field is picking it up. We see Seacoast Racing is driving it on the front, B2C2, pushing fast, so it's picking up. We're going up this hill, we're already going 27 miles an hour, and I decide to not contest this wheel, and I'll just slot in behind the back in action rider right in the draft because we're strung out. It's going pretty fast for the C race, and it'd be very tough to pop out in the wind. I'm doing 400 or 500 watts just to barely hang on to this wheel. So I'm wondering what the guys on the front are doing. Part of me is thinking maybe there's a team lead out happening. I don't think that there was actually a team lead out. I couldn't tell if there was much organization, but it definitely picked up in the end, which is what you like to see. You can see we've got a couple of guys off the front, but not too dangerous at the moment. Just a couple seconds, and there's still a whole nother lap to go, and the rest of this lap. But this high speed up at 31 miles an hour coming up over that hill, it kind of shredded the field a little bit. You can see how kind of wide and spread out folks are. And at this point, I think this is a mistake. I was really digging hard to stick on to that front group, but then I picked this wheel on Seacoast Racing, and a couple of folks passed me, and he starts to come up. I didn't stick too close to the wheel. He starts to try and come around, find a way to get past. We're on our last lap now, so this is definitely further back than I want to be, but there's not going to be a good opportunity to make passes here. We're going super fast. You can see how strung out and long the field is at this point. So any attempts to capture a wheel is going to be really expensive. But it does mean that I need to be a lot smarter about not losing wheels. Like there, I think I just lost 2 more wheels into this turn. I need to be pedaling more through the turn. And we see a lapped rider at the last second getting past. Luckily, no incident. I think this right here is a pretty big mistake from me, letting that rider get away and kind of trying to half slot in behind the B2C2 rider here. He was off the front for, the last lap and a half or so. I think that was his big attack in lap 2 to kind of try and get away and not let this go to a sprint. And so I'm thinking to myself, do I want to keep following this wheel? Do I want to try and come around? But at this point, it's too late. We're going 28 miles an hour. I'm not sticking too close to the wheel, which is not, a little mistake, especially at this high speed at the end here. I should probably be a little bit closer and along the inside line. It's definitely the shorter line and the faster line. But at this point, I'm definitely hurting. And so this is all kind of, with hindsight. And now we're all the way up at, 34 miles an hour. Everyone starts to pop open their sprints. I don't really have a sprint. At this point, I'm, seated and just like digging to kind of not let everyone come around me and see if I can, catch anyone at the line. Unfortunately, the power meter's dead, so you have no idea what numbers I'm doing. So I'm going to lie and say that I did 1,000 watts, which is just not true. Don't look at the Strava file. Come across the line somewhere around 12th, from what I could tell, which I was, pretty decently happy with. The previous week, I, wasn't able to stick with the main group. There was just, it was too fast for me, and I think I wasn't riding super efficiently. I definitely went into this thinking I need to ride efficiently, and I definitely felt like I did that better. So it was good. It was a lot of fun. Looking forward to getting back to these races when they're back in August, and possibly at Buzz the Tower this weekend. If you're going to be there, leave a comment. Let me know if I should head out. And if you like the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Watch some more race footage. Share with your friends. And I'll see you all later.